Hey guys, welcome to the Black Republican Theory. My name is Terry, your host. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe to this video because quite frankly, on today's video, I am going to get into something pretty interesting. So, we know that from my last videos, there was the issue of the Jackson, Mississippi water crisis, and in that video I said that this water crisis is representative of neglect that has happened to black communities nationwide, and really I said what I said was not black but low income communities nationwide. And to support that, I pulled up a map of Hinds County and Rankin County, I believe that's the name of it, in Mississippi. And quite frankly, I pulled up, the income for that area. And it was the areas that were affected, the census tract areas that were affected were low income. Now we look at Baltimore City, and we're having the same issue in Baltimore, where you have predominantly low-income neighborhoods that are affected by a water issue, potential water contamination, where E. coli was exposed into the water and could, quite frankly, get up to thousands, potentially thousands of people sick with diarrhea and other forms of ailments. And the Baltimore City government knew about this on Friday, which was September 2nd. They did not send out a press release until Monday, which was September 5th. This means that they allowed many people, they were willfully and wantonly neglectful and exposing thousands of people to water contamination. And their solution, perfect solution by the way, since the sarcasm, is to give one gallon bottle of water to each household. The following day, on that Tuesday, they said, okay, we'll give 3 1-gallon bottles of water to each family. Imagine if you are a single parent and you have to get your children up in the morning, prepare for work, boil water, and more, iron clothes. A family is not going to last on just 1 gallon of water to do all of that. And they're saying, well, shower with your mouth closed and don't digest any of the water. What in the world? And then they still have not, as of this morning, found out the source of this problem. They don't know where the contamination and leak actually got in. So they're saying, okay, well, we're going to drain the whole system. Just drain out that section. And so they have 90 different test sites along Southwest Baltimore, Howard County, and Baltimore County that are serviced by the Baltimore City water system. And they're saying, okay, well, we're just going to drain out from these and keep testing. And then, no plan on when these things will be solved, no plan to actually fix the lines, nothing. None of that is included in their plan. And so I asked myself, well, is Baltimore like an anomaly in this? Because, Baltimore is not an anomaly. We all know the answer to that. But the next thing I asked myself was, okay, why does Baltimore and so many other cities like Jackson, like DC, keep experiencing these things? And it's always along the low-income poverty tracks. And so I happened to find a list of the 50 top impoverished communities. and or county level communities. Baltimore was actually about number 25 on that list, but along with being number 25, it was the only urban area on that list. Everywhere else was actually a rural county. A rural county, not a suburban county, not suburban in the form of how Howard County, Montgomery, PG County are. It was the only place that was urbanized. Every place else was, Baltimore was urbanized, while every place else was rural. It was, and all of those other county equivalents were either they were fixed. They had different racial, predominant racial groups. So white, Native, Hispanic, and so what I am coming to the conclusion of is that maybe the city government should start focusing on providing economic opportunity. This is something that I've preached for years, which is why I've helped individuals start their businesses, and why I decided to go into the real estate side of things, because below everything is land. And you need land to do anything in this world. And so, and as also just from a community development standpoint, I focus on community economic development first and foremost. But along those lines, continuing on that this conversation, I also pulled up a list of the Distressed Communities Index provided by the Economic Innovation Group. And what I found on this Distressed Communities Index is that while there are many other impoverished areas in Maryland, particularly you have Kent County, Caroline County, Somerset County, that are experiencing some of the, and Dorchester, that experience some of the same challenges that we have. Baltimore City is particular in the fact that it has the most distressed level, and the persistent poverty list that is provided by the USDA of communities that have been impoverished for at least 30 years, etc. Baltimore is always on that list. We have a 26% unemployment rate for the city. How in the heck can we solve these problems? And the only way to solve it is through economic opportunity. And so the next question is this: how can we provide some economic opportunity quick to our people? Well, there was a Hopkins study through another research group, but Hopkins, that said, hey, the vacant housing problem that we have in Baltimore, is a $200 million issue. It's costing us $200 million year over year to continuously service these buildings. Baltimore City owns about 8 to 10%. I think it's about 8% of the buildings. We're just gonna round that up, say 10% of these vacant properties around the city, okay, of the 15,000. They've worked with the state to knock down 1,000 of them since Hogan got in office. Now, if you have 15,000 vacants and you're servicing them, why not, where is the legislation to, number one, charge a vacancy tax rate, as is successfully done in Montgomery and in DC? Where's the legislation to force ownership by the city to take these buildings, rehab them, and put them and sell them, as is done in Fairfax County? These are all productive solutions that are utilized by both liberal and conservative governments. It's an actual, very American ideal, because it's in the best of the public health, safety, and welfare to keep these buildings in tip-top condition and keep them owned by people who will lovingly take care of them. Well, turns out legislation like that has been proposed by Delegate Regina Boyce, and on a city level by City Councilwoman Odette Ramos. And it has consistently been stalled by by other Democrats and the Democrat majority of the Maryland State Legislature. Guys, we've got to do better. But if the city government was to be able to take control of these buildings, they could employ some of these unemployed and disaffected youth and put them into jobs, teach them skills, and then go ahead and sell those buildings or rent them out and finance their own operations as a public bank. Now, I don't want more expansion of the Baltimore city government, but I want solutions that'll work, and that's one of the solutions that'll work. And so I'm just disappointed at this whole water issue and the lack of communication. I do not think that the mayor solely should be blamed, but I do think that the responsible individuals inside DPW that knew of this should be blamed, and they should be held accountable up to including losing their job. Because this could have been, and may still be, potentially harmful. You never know the effects that it might have on families, especially those with young children. And how will their bodies fight this? What if you have a mother who is relying on the water supply, or a family relying on a water supply, to put baby formula and to make baby formula and milk? Like, these are things, or just to boil food. And you're saying, well, we got a boil water advisory. Yeah, right. If you can't trust the water supply of the city, like, why are we still paying the water bills? And then also, was this stemming from or has any connection to the wastewater treatment facility over in Back River, which is over in Dundalk, where there was literal feces floating in the water? Literal feces. And it actually took a couple of Republican delegates to stand up and say, oh, no, we want a state audit of this. And the state had to step in to take control over this. Why do we consistently reward the failure here in the Baltimore city government? And not to mention the fact that you have the Maryland Democratic gubernatorial nominee, Wes Moore. He said, I applaud Brandon's leadership on this, talking about the mayor. No, you can't applaud failure when it's happening. Now, this doesn't and should not solely lay on Brandon's shoulders, because, hey, he's not the one running a test on the water. But he should and does need to take action to fire people and tell them, hey, I'm not going to keep on tolerating this incompetence. And we're not seeing that type of leadership, that type of strongman leadership that we need here in Baltimore City to get stuff done, like in the days of Schaefer and even a little bit in O'Malley, but particularly those of Schaefer. We're not seeing that anymore. And so it is my prayer that these things will get solved, and I hope that no families are seriously affected by this. I mean, I know that there are even places, including the University of Maryland Medical Center, that's been told not to use the water because they could be affected. It's all of Southwest Baltimore, guys. And so if you got an entire hospital that's being put on an advisory, you got public facilities like schools and everything else that's being put under advisories, things are pretty bad. Oh, and then not to mention the shooting that happened over at Maryville, where a student actually died at the hands of another teenager. And people are calling for metal detectors, etc., to be brought into the schools. I don't think that that's going to be a successful strategy. I also don't think that the restorative justice that Councilman Zeke Cohen from the 1st District proposed, I don't think that that's going to work either. Restorative justice pretty much says, hey, we're going to sit down and talk about what happened, and then hopefully we come to a solution of healing. No, we need to start dropping the hammer on some of these criminals, but also we should need not to treat children as criminals by putting metal detectors up. But we should have consequences when they commit adult type of crimes, such as murder, especially when they're old enough to know better. They're old enough to tell right and wrong. And some of these young people are just ignoring that. And so, these are just things that I've been thinking about, guys. I hope that you have a great day. Thank you for tuning in to the Black Republican Theory. I know this turned into quite a rant. But when it comes to Baltimore and the structural failures that are happening, systemic failures, I just get kind of a little bit ticked off. All right, thank you.